Amazon delivery service partners are hiring full-time delivery drivers to meet growing customer demand. Receive compensation of at least $20 per hour at select stations, plus benefits, and a sign-on bonus of $1,000 from participating DSPs if you apply now. No delivery experience required. Must be 21 years or older. Terms apply. Apply today at amazon.com/driver. That's amazon.com/driver.
I am so disgusted at Coots for cancelling Nigel Farage's account, I would close my own account if it weren't for the fact that they offer such a good interest rate and it's actually quite convenient for me. I'm Harriet Langley-Swindon, and this is Non-Censored. Hello and welcome to Non-Censored, the podcast that wraps up all the best bits from my very real daily radio show into one easy-to-digest highlights package. I'm joined as ever by my producer, Martin, and what a show we have for you this week, eh, Martin?
Oh, yes, indeed. We spoke to the leader of the opposition and, full disclosure, a close personal friend of mine, Sir Keir Starmer, about his recent U-turns. And we were joined by the newly nominated Conservative candidate for London Mayor.
Why are you pausing?
Oh, I thought you might want to declare for the listeners that you're friends with her, you know, in the way that I did with Sir Keir.
Don't be ridiculous, Martin. If I had to mention that everyone I met at the Spectator Summer Party was a personal friend, there'd be no room left on air.
Right. Anyway, Susan Hall joined us to talk about her vision for London. And after Eshaan Akbar gave his views on the Huw Edwards story last week, this week he gave us his views on the Dan Wootton story.
Don't forget to email us questions, corrections and contributions to our crowdsourced Donald Trump erotic thriller set in the steamy world of golf. Any hole's a goal, by emailing noncensoredpodcast@gmail.com. We're recording next week's in a minute, so it's too late for that, but there'll be another one at some point if you send in any good questions. But on to this week's show, and we'll start with Sir Keir Starmer, who joined us to explain why he'd come round to thinking correctly about things for the first time in his life. Keir Starmer, good to have you on again.
Hello. Thank you for having me back, Harriet.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Martin. Lovely to see you, Martin.
Hello, Sir Keir. It's wonderful to have you on.
Excited about the Barbenheimer double bill on Sunday. Can't wait.
You better believe it. Us Kens need to stick together, don't we?
Yes. I've been working on my Kenergy. I've been calling it Kenergy.
Oh, that's very funny. Oh, that's very
I
good,
reckon that'll
Sir
play
Keir.
well in the press. Everyone's talking about it, so I thought it was a good thing to get in on.
Sure, why not?
Well, let's move on from that, boys.
Okay.
This
Now,
Barbie's sticking to his policies.
Okay, right.
This Barbie's the next Prime Minister.
Yes, I'll vote for you.
Hopefully.
Well, I mean, Keir Starmer, you are doing well. You've got a 24-point lead in the polls.
Yes.
So you must be happy
I don't like
about
to
that.
brag, but yes.
And you also met up with Tony Blair this week.
Oh, I did, yes. Oh, my God, it was a dream come true. Have you know that feeling when you get to hang out with a hero?
Yes.
I've not really felt anything like it since about 10 years ago. I met Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull after a gig, and it was the same sort of, your heart skips a beat, sweaty palms. But we really felt aligned on a lot of key issues. It was lovely to talk to him.
Yes, I felt like that when I met Toby Young.
Oh, yes.
But it was at the Future of Britain conference. There's lots of pictures of you laughing away with each other.
Yes, I think I was saying something that was funny, and then he laughed. And then, I don't know if you've ever seen people do this, but he would say something funny back. Just off the top of his head, he'd have a sort of a funny reply. And then I would laugh. It would, it was so funny. But then the pressure to come back with another funny thing. We were just sort of, I don't know if you've ever seen this, we were sort of having a funny conversation. Him and then me replying. Oh,
sort of
a
like
real thrill.
A ping pong of the mind. I think they call it...
Yes, exactly like that.
Banter or
I'm
the
sorry,
flow
there's just
state.
nothing I like less than centrist banter. It's really quite depressing.
You've not met him. You've not heard his Bruce Forsyth impression.
No, I haven't met
hilarious.
him. This is true. But, Sir Keir, you also talked about some quite serious issues.
Well,
And
of course.
One of the things you said that Labour has to make some quite ruthless decisions, is what you said.
Yes, I stand by that. I do stand by that. You know, we're living in difficult times, and that's not my fault. You know, I'm getting a lot of flack at the moment as though I'm somehow responsible for the situation we're in. But who put us in this situation?
Well, you did vote for Jeremy Corbyn.
Yes. Well, he didn't put us in this situation.
Well,
Anyway,
he did.
Who? Sorry, I meant to say who? Think I got away with that.
Okay,
That
great.
was good. That
Thank
was
you.
good, Sir Keir.
Yeah,
I
you
think
nearly
that's a good
forgot.
policy.
Now, the biggest thing that people have been talking about is the two-child benefit cap. Now, can you explain to our listeners about this?
Well, look, a lot of people have been accusing me of having dropped an election, a leadership pledge on this issue.
Yes.
And I just want to come back on those accusations. I want to remind people that this was a pledge I made in order to become Labour leader. You know, the pledge I made was,
Right.
if you like the sound of this, vote for me and I'll become leader of the Labour Party. They liked the sound of it. They voted for me. I became leader of the Labour Party. Pledge fulfilled. Let's move on. You know, it's time for new pledges.
Well, that's not a pledge fulfilled, is it? I don't get me wrong.
That's
I think
a pledge
it's
fulfilled.
Great.
I became leader.
We can't have giving money to all these people just popping out two children. It's
Well, of
absolutely
course.
disgusting. But
I mean-
you haven't fulfilled the pledge.
Well,
You've,
the information has changed, Harriet. You know, the information
Right.
has changed. I made that pledge.
Did
at
you
one
meet
stage.
some of the children?
No,
Is that what changed it?
I've got nothing against children. I used to be
Because
a child myself.
I would understand that if you meet the second child and you go, oh,
No,
yes.
a lot of my best friends have children. You know, sometimes more than two, and I want to be able to lift every child out of poverty. But information changed, you know, and I realised suddenly, I actually have no intention of fulfilling that pledge whatsoever, because the information that I received was that there are people that might vote for me that I haven't necessarily
see.
convinced yet, and I've got to try and do my best to placate them.
And
That's sort of
Harriet,
what I'm trying to do here.
I think it's also, to be fair to Sir Keir, you've got to look at the pledges that he is fulfilling, not just the ones that he's changing. Like, you were a Cub Scout, weren't you, Sir Keir?
Yes.
You promised that you will do your best to uphold the Scout values, to do your duty
Yes,
to the Queen, to help other people, and to keep the Cub Scout law. I remember pledging that myself. And I think you and I are both doing our best to uphold that. The Cub Scout
Still
law
uphold
is
it all the time.
helping a pensioner across the road.
Yes. I'm always doing that. Whenever I see one, I offer an arm. I say, hello, Sir Keir Starmer here. Let me help you across this road. And then afterwards, I give them a wink and a fiver and I say, vote Labour.
See, that's nice. You
that's
can't-
entrepreneurial. I like it.
And I remember when I was a child, I was always making pledges in ignorance. You know, you make a pledge with the information
Right.
you have at the time. I remember
Yes.
being a child and seeing a huge can of Pringles and saying, Mum, I want all those Pringles. I can eat all those Pringles. And she would say, Sir Keir, if I buy you those Pringles, you will get sick. I said, I won't. I pledge I will eat all those Pringles. I was wrong. I was an
difficult.
idiot. I was sick all over my shoes.
You
My
tried
point
your best.
is, information changes all the time.
Pledges
and people
are just
trying
an
to
idea.
hold me to very high standards here. You know,
Yes.
they're acting as though I'm Prime Minister already, when really what we need to do is to just give me a chance at running the country. Judge me by what I do, not by
Right.
what I say I'm going
Yes.
to do. That's useless.
Yeah, just see how you fare.
Just let me
Give
know.
you a chance.
You know, imagine you're looking for a babysitter. And
Yes.
somebody comes to you and says, hello, I'd like to be a babysitter. And then you get bogged down in all these sort of questions of like, oh, will you be a good babysitter? Will my baby be safe? Will my baby die? Are you going to chuck my baby around? All these questions, you know, what are you going to feed it? Are you going to feed it glass? All these questions. Just give your baby to the babysitter. And then
Yes.
see what the babysitter does with it.
I
And
see.
if the babysitter feeds the baby glass, if the babysitter puts the baby in the tumble dryer, then of course they're a bad babysitter. But me, here, you know, I'm in this situation. I've never babysat before.
Yes.
Give me
just-
a chance.
Just to clarify, if you were to babysit, they wouldn't be things that you do.
I wouldn't do that. I pledge that if I become the babysitter, that I will not put the baby in the tumble dryer. And that's a pledge I won't go back on. As far as I'm aware, unless I feel like I'm alienating some voters there. I'm pretty sure everyone can agree on that.
Well, Sir Keir, I mean, you make a very powerful case. You really do.
Would you really trust me with your baby?
Well, I don't have a baby. I don't like them. But, maybe if I had a baby.
I think I'd be quite good with it. I think I could do that thing where you wiggle your finger in their nose and you make a noise like boo-boo. I think I'd be good at that.
Okay, right. Well, Sir Keir, I mean, I'd love to talk about all these broken pledges. I mean, trains going into public ownership. You've annoyed Caroline Lucas about climate change.
Yes.
But, I mean, we all annoy Caroline Lucas, don't we? But otherwise, I mean, well done. I think you've made a really good case for things.
Oh, so you're starting actually to maybe come round to my way of looking at things a little bit, Harriet.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it sounds like by abandoning these key pledges and placating the readers of the Daily Mail and the Sun, that maybe finally I might be starting to seduce you a little bit, to kind of call you over with my siren song.
It's a beautiful song.
Are you seduced?
Well, on reflection...
Yes? Oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God.
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
I never vote Labour in my life. No.
Right.
Disgusting. So horrific. Makes me want to be sick.
Okay.
But keep up the good work.
I'll keep pushing. One of these days, you'll see.
Now, this week, the Conservative Party selected their candidate to beat Sadiq Khan in next year's London mayor elections, Susan Hall. And the press has already started their smear campaign. For example, the Evening Standard, the official newspaper of the floor of the London Underground, printed her photo on the front page of their newspaper.
Why is that a smear campaign?
It was a bad photo, Martin. They were provided with professional headshots to use, and if they were real journalists, they'd have used them.
But, I mean, maybe it would have been better not to print a photo at all then?
No, Martin. That would be biased as well.
So, bias is when you don't get the exact coverage you want?
Exactly. And here for some unbiased coverage of her campaign is Susan Hall. Susan, I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Oh, well, I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Oh, it's just always good to get a friend on, and you don't always get the chance.
No, lots of people. I rarely see anyone in my job because they're all hiding from me because I'm so scary.
Oh, Susan.
You know, I am the only person who scares Sadiq.
Oh,
you know this.
Yes, I've heard this.
Yes.
I've heard this. He is quaking in his little boots.
Yes, because I'm always jumping out at him.
Yes.
from
Oh,
cupboards.
Susan.
Yes.
Susan, you naughty, naughty woman. How brilliant. So it's great because we've had far too long with Sadiq. He's doing god-awful things to London.
What is he doing? He doing? He's making London worse than it ever was, isn't he?
Yes.
I mean, I know I keep banging on about the ULEZ extension, but oh dear, ULEZ extension. I mean, that's how we all feel about it.
Yes.
Well, what I'd like to say is I know that Margaret Thatcher is a big hero of mine.
Oh,
and
yes.
to paraphrase her, ULEZ if you want to, this lady's not for Lezzing.
Oh, Susan.
For various reasons.
That's almost as good as Safer with Susan, that.
Well, I mean, we came up with Safer with Susan after a long, long night trying to get people to listen to me. Yes, Safer with Susan, it's good, isn't it?
Susan, hi, producer Martin here. I do feel I have to chime in because there are some that perhaps don't agree with your sort of appraisal of the situation. I mean, Safer with Susan. You've already mentioned that you are jumping out at people from cupboards. That doesn't sound very safe. the ULEZ.
Oh, I don't know if you ever saw the Inspector Clouseau films.
Yes.
I very much see myself as Cato.
Cato.
I'm protecting us all by keeping us on our toes.
Keeping people vigilant.
Yes.
In those films.
For some spontaneous fighting. For those listeners who haven't seen it. It's a very funny bit. He's always jumping out of cupboards and doing a bit of fighting just for fun, just to keep him on his toes.
I think
we all need to be ready for the stabbings that are coming.
Yes, yes.
Well,
and that's why you're safer with Susan.
That's terrifying. I think one of the key differences is that Inspector Clouseau has charged Cato with the job of jumping out on him. And as I understand it, Sadiq has not encouraged you to
No, because she wouldn't work with Sadiq, Martin.
No. I mean,
she's going to save us from Sadiq.
Yes, exactly. I'm giving you, this is what you would be getting with me if you vote me.
So good.
Are you Londoners?
Oh, well, I am.
Just sort of in and out. I mean, I'm just outside, really.
Right, media bubble Londoners. But if and when you vote for me, that is what you would be getting.
One thing that you have said is that Boris Johnson was an awesome prime minister and an awesome politician.
Churchill of our day.
He was, of course, famously mayor of London, and actually the person who introduced the ultra low emission zone, which you are now campaigning against.
But Boris, even Boris isn't perfect, and I think
Harriet.
Susan, I'm sorry if I put my foot in it.
Oh, all right. We'll say he's not.
I just think. Do you know what it is? You're right. He's wonderful. He's brilliant. I think it's just. I'm so glad that you're bringing polluted cars back into London.
It's just I feel like we miss Smog, don't we? Don't we?
Yes.
Well,
let's bring it back to the Blitz spirit. Lots of smog.
Yeah, we all like a bit of smog, but I mean, on the other hand,
it is Dickensian.
On one hand, we have the Dickensian dream. On the other, we have child mortality rates. And it is a hard balance.
Martin.
Which one is more important? It's hard
Martin,
to say.
That's a myth.
I'm a plain-speaking grandmother, as we all know, and I just think that my grandchildren particularly, they want smog.
Yeah.
They want it. They like it.
It's fun.
They're sick of this super clean air. It's, children like getting in the soil. They like getting in filthy clouds of air.
Also, Susan, maybe so many people wouldn't be getting stabbed in London if they couldn't see each other with the smog.
Exactly. A wonderful point, Eric. Can someone write that down for my leaflet?
A sort of smoke bomb obscuring effect.
They'd just be stabbing the wrong things. They'd be stabbing the walls. Less fatalities.
Yes, well, that's an excellent campaign.
Now, Susan, I hate to bring up how some people have been criticising you, but, I wouldn't be doing my job as a journalist if I didn't. London Labour have described you as a hard-right politician who does not stand up for women.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Is that what they're saying?
That's what they're saying.
Dear. London Labour, they're hilarious, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They're a bunch of jokers.
They are a bunch of jokers. I just think women are... they're sort of fine now, aren't they? We've done so much for them.
I mean, look at you and me. We're both here talking to each other. We're fine.
We're like queens of the world, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, basically, I'm having a lovely time, lovely retirement. So I just think that women should sort of get over themselves, get themselves some smog and have a good time.
Yeah.
I think just to clarify, I think when London Labour are saying that you don't stand up for women, it's not about standing up when a woman enters the room. It's not about some kind of additional respect. It's more about some of the serious crimes being committed against women and the support that they require.
Well, can I just say, Producer Martin, again, if you had more smog in London, there would be less sexual assaults because they wouldn't be able to see.
That's just
possible.
a fact. And, I'm definitely they're going to get less stabbings because I'm going to bring more police on the street. So,
brilliant.
We have more police, which might mean that more women are getting attacked.
That is the risk you take with police. But, better the devil you know.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Better than being stabbed by a child.
Yes, exactly. If it's stabbed by a child or attacked by a police officer.
I know which I'd go for.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's about priorities. And I think that's what we really missed with Sadiq Khan, who just sort of wangs on about, Donald Trump doesn't like me, that kind of thing.
It's just
of course,
so
of Donald
boring.
Trump, who you were a fan of.
Yeah, it's so boring. You wouldn't get him with mad eyes, his fists aloft on the cover of the Standard, would you?
No, you wouldn't, because he's too
Probably
dull.
not.
Yeah.
I do also have to just bring up one other bone of contention that people have mentioned. It's a disagreement between certainly your perception and that of Rishi Sunak, which is that Liz Truss's mini budget you described as a joy. A joy for the country.
I mean, I like a mini everything, don't you? Mini pork pies.
I mean, that is true. They are.
Rolls.
Mini
They're the most
Battenberg.
fun. Everyone likes them. I don't want a big budget. It'll ruin my dinner.
Yes, but...
Sorry, what was your point?
Well, it didn't just tide us over until the main meal came out. It sort of wiped tens of billions off the economy and crippled the housing market.
And it got us into the papers, didn't it? Put us on the
That's a
map
good
in
point.
some ways. Yeah.
That is a good point. Everyone was talking about it.
That mini budget's going to end up in the jungle next year. That's what I think. That's what it's about. Attention, isn't it?
It was explosive.
Interesting.
No one can deny that.
Explosive. Thank you, Harriet.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, Susan, thank you so much for coming
It was
on.
a very expensive...
Oh, Martin. Come on.
It's fine. No, I just... Sometimes you need to bring them up and...
Be boring, be a boring boy.
Yeah, be a boring boy.
I'm not a boring boy. I'm not a boring boy.
Well,
I'm
sound like
very...
it.
Well, I'm not... No, don't call me a boring boy.
Sounds a bit dull. They wouldn't put you on the front of the Evening Standard, Martin.
No,
that's what I'm
they
saying.
wouldn't. However mad your eyes were.
Well, listen, Susan, before we leave you, is there anything else that you want to say to our listeners?
Hashtag bring back Smog.
Oh, brilliant. Well, I think we can all agree that we'd all be safer with Susan.
Safer with Susan. Keep writing it down.
Next time on a very spooky fine dining podcast, the season 1 finale, TGI Fridays the 13th. Oh, you betcha, pineapple's gonna hit the fan as Michael's son Juicy, or in this episode, Juice son Voorhees, goes on a murderous rampage, and no one is safe. It gets real spooky, it gets real bloody, and not everyone's gonna make it to the end of the episode. Who will live, who will die? Listen to Fine Dining, the search for the most mediocre restaurant in America, break down a trip to TGI Fridays based on the atmosphere, the service, and the food, and try not to be scared to death. Hear the thrilling finale of Fine Dining, Wednesday, October 25th, wherever you get your podcasts.
Finally, we had Eshaan Akbar on to talk about the horrible smear campaign against the lovely Dan Wootton. And I will declare an interest here, Martin, seeing as you think it's so important. Dan is a good friend of mine, and he has never tried to solicit indecent images of me, so I find the allegations against him absolutely unbelievable.
Well, he's gay, so you wouldn't exactly be his type.
Love is love, Martin. Love is love.
Anyway, it might be worth going back and listening to what Eshaan said about Huw Edwards last week. And, I'll just play a short clip here, sort of previously on Non-Censored.
The Sun were absolutely right.
Yes.
This is the thing.
Yes.
We don't want the red tops to do some of the nefarious things that they do, but they took this claim, they published this claim, they got the rumour mill going, and they were right.
Yes, I think we have to specify they weren't right about the claim, but they were right to put the claim out there.
I mean,
Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, they're right. Yes, if they hadn't put the claim out there, we wouldn't have discovered retrospectively where the issue is.
Oh, come on, Martin. That was last week's opinion. Let's have a listen to this week's. Hello, Eshaan.
Hello, Harriet. How are you?
Well, do you know what? Sometimes I feel that in this show, we really put some good back into the world and we defend the voiceless and the people that can't stick up for themselves.
Yes.
So I'm particularly excited about today's hot and spicy takeaway of the week because I think we're really going to do some good, actually.
Yes, I agree with you. You may gather from my tone that I'm slightly downbeaten this week because I'm just, fighting for the voiceless is sometimes a thankless task. And this week, they went after yet another person with no evidence, just claims. And I'm just a bit tired, really, but I'll try my best to explain why this is a problem.
Yeah.
Your good friend of mine, Dan Wootton, of course, has been dragged through the mud for the last few weeks with some, frankly, remarkable claims.
And don't put claims out there if you don't have solid proof.
Absolutely. We've always said this. We are an upstanding podcast, and it's always been made clear you cannot make claims without evidence.
No, and okay, yes, you could say these people coming forward is evidence, but no, those are just dark forces.
Yes, absolutely. The worst of all the forces, right?
Okay,
dark ones.
I feel I need to chip in here just a moment. Eshaan, Harriet, this just strikes me as the most audacious hypocrisy, because not a week before we were throwing everything. You were throwing everything that you could at Huw Edwards for exactly the same allegations that Dan Wootton is now facing. Either we need to issue a full apology to Huw Edwards, or we need to apply the same kind of scrutiny and rigorous...
Well, for a start, it is not the same because Huw Edwards was acting as himself, whereas Dan Wootton here was acting under a portmanteau that had nothing to do with him.
It's different thing,
They're
yes.
different things.
Different people.
It's not the same thing.
Don't think just because he was operating under a different name is it a further duplicitous
And also,
action.
Dan was very clear. He called it an error of judgment, right? Right? Which is very different. We've not heard a peep from Huw Edwards. Not a peep. He got his little spokeswoman, his wife, to do the talking. At least Dan fronted up. He did a 6-minute monologue on GB News.
And what I'd say to you, Martin, is be kind.
Yes, Martin.
Be kind.
This is a man. He can't even claim mental health issues. He could if he wanted to.
He has never gone after anyone in his life.
Never, ever.
He is always kind. He never throws judgment on people. And now you, a producer, Martin, someone who works in the media, is throwing one of your fellow media people under a bus. I frankly think that's a crying shame.
Did you know Dan Wootton had to change his name from Dan Woolen because he always wrapped everyone in cotton wool, and everyone thought he was such a soft touch. He said, fine, I'm going to add a hard T to it.
That I don't know if there's any truth in that or if you're just making a funny joke, Eshaan. But
there's nothing funny about this. It is a man's mental health.
I certainly don't think there's anything funny about this. He's been catfishing former and current colleagues, tempting them with sums of tens of thousands of pounds for sexually graphic photos.
Here's the thing with catfishing. How do you even know it's the person doing the catfishing? Because
it could be anyone.
It could be anyone. It could be Huw Edwards.
Well, he's several.
Actually,
I think 7 of his former colleagues and an ex-boyfriend have all flagged up the fact that this is an account.
Well, we can ignore the ex-boyfriend because he's jilted.
It is funny, though, that Martin Branning is the name, because that's the name of my husband's very good friend. He's always getting texts from him. I did think it's funny. I said to Jonathan, Jonathan, that's the same name as your chum, the one that can never come round for dinner.
Right, Martin Brown. I suppose.
Does he see Martin often?
Well, no, he doesn't. They text into the night. You know what boys are like. Sometimes he goes into the loo to do it, and I'm like, Jonathan, you don't need to go into the loo to text your friend. It's fine. You can do it here. But no, it's difficult. Martin he can't come round. He just can't.
No, well, I mean, it's also difficult for other people called Martin because this is attracting more negative attention to our name. And, speaking for my people, the Martins, it's not what we need. It's certainly not what we want. And I think Dan, if he was to be a bit more honest and open and just brave, he'd admit what he's done. And he'd operate under his own.
Sorry.
Actually,
Producer Martin, did you not see his monologue on GB News? Now that was brave.
He said,
that was brave.
Like all fallible human beings have made errors of judgment in the past. That's a brave thing to say. And then he said, but the criminal allegations being made against me are simply untrue. And I think that's the truth.
And that's really brave.
Where I will agree with you both, of course, is that there should be due process. We shouldn't be slinging mud before the facts are out there. However, if he is proven to have misused his power, to have abused his colleagues, to have broken the law, crucially, then would you not agree that as a New Zealander, as someone that is not a British citizen, that they should be subject to the same laws?
It practically is, Martin. They were all like criminals. They're fine.
The main thing is he presents as British. He
when
you
passes.
see him,
right, he passes
he looks British.
But then we're always talking about how, if foreigners are coming over here and breaking laws, then they should be deported. I feel it is.
They're not really foreigners, because if you go back to the ancestry, we sent them there. We sent white people to Australia and New Zealand.
Right, so
they're kind of our great-great-grandchildren.
we put them there.
Ex-cons and expats as they return.
Yes.
Right, that's very interesting bit of mental gymnastics there. But
I just think it's very interesting that all these people are going after Dan Wootton. You wouldn't see that if it was the BBC.
Yes.
Mark my words.
Yes.
You wouldn't see that.
If he was called Danesh Waleed, people wouldn't go after him because people would be too afraid of being racist.
I mean, there's a lot of talk about
that is so right.
Grooming gangs. I mean, even in government, they're chatting about that. I just think it's amazing, the hypocrisy. And after, I thought it was really moving how Dan spoke about how he had not attacked Huw Edwards because he doesn't believe in attacking people.
Yes.
And so he didn't do that. And that's what he's always stood by.
Yeah.
And also, let's be clear, they are going after GB News because they want to tear it down, because it's the best channel in the world.
Yes, ours is, our station is, of course,
they are going after it.
After QVC.
Yes. You're right. That is the best channel, actually. Yes.
I bought a blender. I bought one of these blenders that you can control from your phone the other day.
Yeah, it's really good. And actually, it really helps you go to sleep.
They're actually also very good for people that came third or fourth in Dragon's Den, didn't quite get the investment, but then still managed to make their product.
Yes. That's true. That is also really good.
Useful channel.
Yeah, that's a very good channel. But then
some trousers that have heat technology and they change colour when you get warm, so you can tell when you're getting overheated.
So people can tell. When you're getting That's quite
it's mainly
useful.
The crotch reason, mainly the crotch, but also behind the knees, in the knee pit, as I think it's called.
I feel like we've rather gone off topic here, but my point still stands. GB News is under threat, and poor Dan Wootton, he's butter.
My hot and spicy takeaway is leave Dan Wootton alone, okay? This is a man who has fronted up, and he's not, in a cowardly manner, checked himself into some sort of facility. Oh, no. He was on screen, facing the allegations head on, like a
looking very serious,
like a bull.
Well,
in that tomato race they do in Spain.
That's
Just
not a good race.
Straight through
He's not
villages.
the bull. Anyway, listen, my rebuke to that, Eshaan, and I understand your position, and we're not going to find a common ground, but my rebuke would be that if they're willing to get rid of a presenter for taking a knee at a station where apparently you can say whatever you want, then surely they should have just a little bit of consistency.
Taking a knee isn't saying something, is it? Taking a knee is doing something. So actually, they're pretty consistent. You can say whatever you like, just don't do whatever you like. They're two different things.
I'd say trying to catfish people to send you nudes is also doing something, but...
No, let's not talk about that. It's not important.
It's not nice when you think about what he actually did.
Also, why is it called catfishing? Because catfish aren't very nice.
You can't fish for a cat,
catfish. Cats when they fish. They fish for cats.
I had a catfish once, kept eating all the goldfish. Very nice.
Well, I think that tells you everything, doesn't it? Well, that's it for this week. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, follow the Out of Context Non-Censored Twitter account, and keep those questions and erotic thriller contributions coming to noncensoredpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you to Rosie Holt, Brendan Murphy, Eshaan Akbar, Jos Norris, Margaret Caborn-Smith, and Ed Morrish. I'm Harriet Langley-Swindon, and we'll be back next week with more Non-Censored.